Howdy, welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. We're here for tonight's Members Night, and this is the second session for Members Night today because we've already done one in the Northern Hemisphere, which capitalized on getting everybody from Europe and the Americas and so forth. But some of you who missed that session are coming on the later one. So for those of you who are brand new, Michael Firth, one of the founding advisory board members and Crowns with Neumi, and it's my pleasure to be your MC today. We are live streaming right now on social media as well as YouTube, and I just realized I need some help, Phoebe, so I'm going to make you a co-host. Thank you very much. I love it when certain people just step up. You know, Aaron's always saying, Michael Firth always steps up. So does Phoebe Wallace, right? So be a Phoebe. If you want to be anything in the world, be a Phoebe. Step up for the greater good of Neumi and volunteer to help. Sorry, guys, that was a smoke alarm, and I don't know why that went off. So I'm hoping that was not a fire. If it is, Phoebe's taking over, and I'll be running out of the building. All right, guys, tonight we're really blessed in that we have some fantastic topics for you to hear about. You're going to be hearing from our co-founder, sorry, Ryan Scott. And you're also going to be hearing from one of our members and diamonds, Cindy Ryland. And in the promotion I put out this week, you'll hear that I said Cindy isn't just a diamond. She's also a functional, I can't get the right words, medical person. There you go, technical term. You'll hear more about that as we get off. So today's session was pre-recorded this morning, and we're going to play that back for you so we don't have to double up. So Phoebe, if you can keep letting people in as we get going. But we'll be hearing from Sergio Delamora as he kicks off. And make sure you have a pen and paper. So there's some spectacular stuff you want to hear about. Now, before we do, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook right now and you don't speak fluent English or Australian, you can come in the Zoom room and we have Wordly, and Wordly means you can scan what's in the chat and you can be reading along in your native language as we go through today's session. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand you to Sergio Del Amora.
Hello, Neumi family. Welcome to today's Members Night. What a privilege it has been for us to be on very frequently over the past few weeks as we have really taken it all in post-summit. It's been such an exciting time for us. We're already looking way ahead into 2027, just to give you an idea of how excited we are with everything we have going on. Now, as you can see in your calendars in your back office, we are actually live right now with the Diamond Post-Summit Momentum Tours, where Diamonds are putting on meetings throughout the world. And the really nice thing about this is that as I've been talking to many of the diamonds, we're actually booking meetings through November that are already going to be on the calendar. So that's very exciting. I can tell you that Ryan and Steve will be in Canada next month. There is a meeting that's being planned in the Monterrey, Mexico area for September as well. And then Aaron, our CEO, will actually be in a few cities in Europe, and also he will make his way over to Kazakhstan as he ends that tour. So that's exciting. That's the very first time that we'll have corporate presence be part of a meeting there. So that's a wonderful achievement that we've been looking forward to for some time. Get comfortable. You're going to take a lot of good notes. I encourage you to pay attention today because you're going to get familiar with a lot of fun ways to promote some of our new products that we've introduced. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you can fully take advantage of those products right now. Now, just as we are getting ready to close out August already, can you believe it? Just want to remind you that we do have the Rank Up promotion available, and we also have the Power of 3 transition. So I've been talking a little bit about that in the past few weeks. Feel free to look it up on our knowledge base if you're not familiar with the terms and rules, but I can tell you from the activities that we've been seeing, a lot of people are taking good advantage of these promos, and it makes us very happy to see that because we are now living the moment where these compensation plan enhancements are now live, and I can't wait to see the results of many of the things that we're doing. So at the time being, one of the tools that we haven't talked much about, and this is something I want to purposely talk about before I bring on our first special guest, is because he has been the mindset that's brilliant behind this. And you've been very familiar with how we've been focused since the previous summit on the 90-day success plan. There's nothing like that first 90 days. We've even incorporated onboarding calls every second Wednesday of every month, as you've known. And so with a new website that I'm going to also invite him to touch a little bit on, it's very helpful. It's a tool that if you're not aware, we're going to put on the chat that you can use. And you can continue to take the principles that were on the 90-day success planner, but there is more. You can actually find out what your personality is if you're not familiar with that. And that's the personality traits that Steve talks about during his personal development trainings, whether you're a lion, or if you're an otter, if you're a golden retriever, if you're a beaver. So that is also incorporated in this wonderful tool that our good friend and co-founder Ryan Scott has created for all of us. And I'll ask him to also talk a little bit about that as we bring him on, just because we're going to take full advantage to go deeper into it in the near coming weeks, because we want to make sure that as you are building your Neumi business, you are aware of how to best use that tool to take you through your Neumi journey. Now, it is my pleasure to bring our co-founder, a good friend of mine, someone who I admire. He's a young guy, but I can tell you he's full of wisdom, and he's a pleasure to work with, a very humble, loving guy, just like the rest of the Scott family, just great leadership, and always thinking of how to make everything better for our members and customers worldwide. Ryan, you, aside from thinking about this wonderful tool that we recently introduced, you are actually kind of the heart of how everything started with what we're going to talk about today. And you guessed it, it's the Neumi product line. I know a lot of this really came through inspiration through you and through what you were experiencing as you were out in the field. So help me welcome our co-founder, Ryan Scott. Give him some love, give him some hearts, some claps. Welcome to today's call, Ryan.
Oh, I feel the love. I don't need any hearts, but thank you guys. Yes, we thank you for bringing up that tool, that business building tool, that website. We are going to be constantly adding to that website um tools, documents you can download, videos. So that website, NeumiBusiness.com or BusinessNeumi.com, both work. They go to the same place. It is a great tool for you to calculate, earnings based on rank, based on volume. Download the path to 1 star, the path to diamond, the path to crown, daily habits you can focus on. And in the menu, you can even vision map. There's an for those of you who weren't at the summit, you can vision map directly from, I'm actually going to show you real quick. I'm going to share real quick, just share this portion. Hold on 1 second. So let me pull up this website. Hold on. Share. So this is the website. And like Sergio said, we have the personality test right here. Daily habits that you can focus on, inviting, following up, getting them to three-way calls, different models you can try out. Here's the comp plan. Here's the calculator where you can see, okay, how much am I earning if I get this much, what my estimated, monthly volume is. But what I wanted to show you is in the menu, you can go to the vision mapping workbook. And this is a really, Steve really talks about how important it is to vision map. And from here, it saved my progress on step 6 of 14. But you have action steps, this is the goals section where you describe your action steps and then you pick a date of when you need to complete it by, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end, what's cool, it talks about recruiting a mentor, how important it is to find a mentor, someone who compliments you, someone who compliments your weaknesses, your personal weaknesses, what you do well, what you need to look for, partner checklist, area dream, what personality they are. So you can go through and fill this out on your phone, or you can fill this out You can fill this out on your phone. You can fill this out on the computer. But what's really cool is at the end of filling this really detailed, this is what the most successful people in the world do. They don't just drift through life, right? They plan out their life and they select goals and select areas of their lives that they want to focus on. And then they break those goals down into tasks and those tasks down to steps. And this shows you exactly how to do it. And at the very end, what you can do is you can export your your whole vision mapping journal. And once that's exported, you can throw that into your favorite AI chat, whether that's, whether they use Grok or ChatGPT or Claude. Throw that whole journal that you worked. This will probably take, a day or two for you to complete. Throw that into ChatGPT, and then it can constantly remind you, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to follow up with this mentor. Hey, you need to complete this task by this date. And that will be a great resource for you to not just have, a stagnant PDF, but something that you can constantly work with to achieve your goals. So I think this is an incredible tool. I'm going to push this a little bit more, but I wanted to show you guys. Right now, it's just at the bottom of the menu section, but we need to put this front and center because it's an incredible, incredible tool to help you guys achieve your goals and achieve your visions, not just in business, but in family life, in your spiritual life, however you want to succeed. This is one of the best tools that are out there. So sorry for that tangent. Obviously, I'm uh yes, I will do a class. Maybe what we'll do one day for members night, we'll record it and I will walk through completing a vision mapping journal. Would you, if you guys think that that's a good idea, type yes in the chat or do a thumbs up, and we'll do a vision mapping training where we can all walk through it together and I can fill it out, and we'll do um, a vision mapping journal together. And then I'll teach you how to put that into AI also and use that to help you progress. Now, the meat of today's call that we're going to hear from is we're going to hear an incredible presentation from Cindy Ryland. She's an awesome presenter, and she's great at taking information and teaching it in a way that can be duplicated, can be taught, can be shared. But Sergio asked kind of what was the path of these sprays that we came out with in July. And it's a little bit of a, it's a new lineup that we launched. And the focus of this lineup is, we have our hero products, right? Which is our NutraSwish, our Neuro and hers, and they have lots of ingredients in it that do a lot of things, and they require some explanation and some science behind it. And the idea was, okay, we have our heroes over here. What if we took simple products and everyone's favorite ingredients and nanosize them just to get to the masses, without requiring a whole ton of explanation. So, for example, caffeine. Everyone knows what caffeine does. Everyone knows what magnesium does. So we take magnesium and we say, oh, you're taking magnesium for, muscle recovery, for sleep improvement, for XYZ. There's millions and millions of people taking magnesium every single day. Well, now our message becomes, we have the most bioavailable version of magnesium out there. We have the most bioavailable version of caffeine out there. Now you don't need to take 300 milligrams of caffeine to feel the effects. You can use our hydrostat version of caffeine, and just with 7 milligrams, you can feel the effects of caffeine and not experience the crash and not experience the jitters that come with overdosing caffeine. And so that was our idea. Same thing with zinc. Everyone knows what zinc does. And we have the best, most bioavailable version of it at a more affordable price point. So this can be an introductory product to people who are not familiar with the technology, and not familiar with the science behind glutathione, and may not be willing to cross the bridge with a $50 payment. Maybe they'll try, a $30 caffeine bottle where they can say, oh my gosh, this is only 7 milligrams of caffeine and I can feel it. Like, how is that even possible? A Coca-Cola is 40 milligrams and I don't ever feel that. And how is it possible that I can feel? Then that gives them an experience real quick and a not expensive experience for them to see the power of our technology. And a spray like that can be shared and passed along, college friends, athletes, they could pass it around before a race or before, sporting event. And it's a very, it has a lot of viral potential as a product. So that's why we um, right on the what should we call it? The path that we wanted to go down. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it to one of our top leaders in Canada, Cindy Ryland. She's going to give an awesome presentation that when she gave this presentation to her group last week, I just got lit up with text messages. Ryan, you have to have her on members night. She's incredible, and everyone said that her presentation was awesome. So we looked at it and we're excited to have her. So with that, Cindy, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks everyone. It's been a little while since I presented on members night, so I'm gonna just share my screen here. It's pretty simple slides, but something to look at. Here we go. Everybody sharing there. So, and this isn't going to be like a traditional product presentation because I was initially trained. I also have put something together because when I did this last week, I guess, with the team on the team training, it was much more casual, off the cuff. I just kind of rambled my way through it, and then boom, here I am. So, so bear with me with this. I was initially trained in a more traditional approach to health. That traditional approach is more about training us to look at what symptom does somebody have, and then deciding on what product could suppress the symptom, and then looking for the symptom to go away and calling that health. But that's not how I practice today in my practice. Today, I practice regenerative health. So what I'm much more interested in is what has to happen physiologically at the cellular level to support the body to restore normal function. And probably the biggest things, or one of the biggest things in my regenerative health training that changed was how I look at products and supplementation. Because now I'm not starting with the symptom. I'm not asking what can I give them for it, right? We don't have to think about that any longer. I start with asking, why is their body producing that symptom in the first place? What has to be happening physiologically inside, and what does their body, what do their cells need really in order to restore the normal function? And then once I understand that, then I'm asking, where can a particular product support what that body needs? And so that's how I'm going to talk about these three products, the three mist products today. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go through the individual ingredients. Like Ryan said, there's only a few in each one, which is brilliant. And Neumi's put a really great slide together or package together that actually lists the benefits of each ingredient. So I don't want to duplicate that, because what I'm really more interested in, and how I'm communicating it both to my team last week and out to my people, is looking at what is the body trying to accomplish, and then where could each of these formulations help support that. So I'm going to start with energy. And so the first thing that I would say about this is that energy in the body is not the same thing as stimulation. Ryan did talk about, everyone knows what caffeine does. We know we can get that. We use it for stimulation. We use it for that boost. But if someone actually needs caffeine all day long just to function, then I'm not looking at caffeine as the solution to their energy problem. I really want to understand, why is their body struggling to produce and regulate energy in the first place? But then there's other times, the times when we're asking the body to perform at a higher level, where we need to have more concentration, where we want to stay more alert, have that clear thought, or meet an increased physical or mental demand. And that's when I'm looking to energy, to this formulation, because yes, caffeine can increase alertness, but just stimulation by itself doesn't always, and actually doesn't often, lead to better performance. Because too much of it, when we're overdosing or overusing the caffeine, then it can leave us feeling wired or nervous or actually mentally scattered. It can actually give us the opposite of what we're trying to get to. We can be awake, but we're not necessarily functioning at our best or optimally. So what is really interesting to me about this, that combining the caffeine with the L-theanine and the taurine, is that we're not simply looking at just stimulating the body alone. We're supporting alertness while also giving the body the molecules that it needs for nervous system function and for performance. And the amino acid, L-theanine and taurine, they're often the very resources that I see people running the lowest in, especially when they've been dealing with chronic stress or any kind of digestive distress or an overburdened liver, aka pretty much most of us in the world today, or just even trying to meet the demands of everyday life. So I'm not looking at this formulation. This is much more powerful than just give me energy. This is a tool for those times where we want to support calm, clear, sustained performance. And for me, that distinction really matters, because if I'm just exhausted and I'm just trying to use stimulation like caffeine or energy drinks or whatever it is to push through the exhaustion, I really need to look at upstream at what else is happening in the body. But when I'm looking at asking the body to meet a temporary increase in mental or physical demand, maybe I'm just going to the gym. I feel a little bit run down and I want to go to the gym and get a workout. I want to use this because a lot of injuries happen when we're more tired and we're not focused. We don't have that mental focus. So enhancing our performance is really needed. And that's where I see energy fitting in really well. So where I will be recommending it to people is before doing any kind of work that requires extra concentration or creativity, or I used it today, before coming into a meeting, before doing a presentation, before teaching anything, before, like I already said, before any kind of exercise or athletic performance where that's important. It's great for travel days or just that extra long day where we have to push a little bit more, or even just strategically, anytime that someone wants a combination of being alert, but also having clarity and focus and not wanting the jitteriness. I don't even know if that's a word. So for me, the focus here, when we look at energy, is on enhancing performance, not just fixing fatigue. Now, when I look at immunity, the immunity Neumist, I'm first thinking about what a healthy immune system actually is designed to do. Because I think we've all heard of this, right? We've heard people say, oh, I want a strong immune system, or I have a strong immune system. But that doesn't mean that it's healthy. A healthy immune system is actually one that responds appropriately. It actually has to recognize when something requires a response in the body. It's got to be able to communicate that throughout the entire body. It has to then mount the right response to address it. And once it's done, it has to resolve and retreat. So for me, supporting immune health isn't just about boosting up the immune system, and it's not just taking something so you don't get sick. It's actually supporting your body's ability to respond appropriately and to maintain its resilience. And that's what I like about the combination here of the fucoidan, the zinc, and the rabinogalactin, because I often see people whose immune systems are already carrying a very significant load. That load is coming from chronic stress, from poor recovery, from the exposures that we have in the environment. It's also coming from the demands of just everyday life. And Ryan mentioned zinc. Zinc is one of the nutrients I most commonly see signs of people being insufficient with. So I'm not just thinking about, well, what happens when we get exposed to something? When I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at, is the immune system have the resources? Does it have the resilience it needs to actually respond well in the first place? Because there's resources that your immune cells require. And they also require the communication between the gut and the immune system. And it requires an appropriate inflammatory signaling. We don't want inflammation stuck on. It requires the body's ability to respond and then return back to balance when it no longer has the threat. So I'm interested in how this formulation, particularly as a whole, supports that entire bigger process. So I'm not going to necessarily wait, though, until somebody feels terrible to say, hey, you need immunity. If I know that someone's body is moving into a period of greater demand, that's when I'm thinking about this for providing that additional support. So when am I going to recommend this? I'm going to recommend it proactively as we go into seasonal immune challenges, aka the cold and flu season, or the sugar and sweet season, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to recommend it when people are traveling because we're exposed to more things in the air and we have a higher stress load. likely less sleep as well. I'm going to recommend it through periods of higher stress or higher workload, more intensity, or even when somebody notices they're feeling a little run down. We've heard what Michael said, what Ryan said, or yeah, it was Ryan and Michael when they were traveling, they would feel something coming on, spray it, and the next morning they would feel good. I've had that same experience over the last week. I just felt a little bit off, a little bit like, I might be getting susceptible to something. Couple of sprays, 3 sprays that evening. By the next day, I felt fantastic. So the focus with immunity for me is about supporting the body's resilience, its ability to respond appropriately rather than just trying to make the immune system stronger. And I think that's what's really powerful about this one. And then moving to relax, what I love about this, I actually love this combination. What interests me about the combination of the myo-inositol and the magnesium is that both of these are involved in very, very foundational processes, again, around that cellular communication, nervous system function, and regulation. Now, as Ryan said, most people know something about magnesium, right? Might be something, might be that, oh, I take it for muscle cramps, or I take it to loosen up my bowels, or I take it to relax and calm down. But magnesium is so, so, so much more than that. And magnesium insufficiency is also one of the patterns I see over and over again in practice. Most of us are actually low in magnesium all the time. And again, that matters because magnesium doesn't just do one little job in the body. It's not just those, does it do those few things we mentioned? Absolutely. But it does so much more. It's actually involved in and critical for hundreds of enzymatic reactions in the body. And an enzymatic reaction is like the catalyst, is like the engine, it gets things going. And these are things like processes that are involved in cellular energy production or nervous system functioning or muscle function, proper muscle function. That's why we know it for the cramping. It's also involved in glucose regulation and cellular signaling. And let's put that in context of how most of us are living. Many people aren't consistently getting enough magnesium through the diet to replace what they're needing and what they're using. And at the same time, they're living under chronic stress. So they're asking more and more and more from those physiological processes that depend on the magnesium. So it's something I've already been paying a lot of attention to. But in this formula, when we add in myo-inositol, I think that's one that far fewer people understand. And for me, this is where it gets super interesting because myo-inositol plays an important role in how your cells communicate with each other. It's actually involved in that intracellular signaling, and that's essential for helping carry the messengers from the receptor out on the outside of the cell into the cell so that the cell does its job and it responds appropriately to what it's being asked to do. It's also involved in all nervous system signaling. It's involved in insulin signaling and a whole bunch of other regulatory processes throughout the body. So when I'm looking at these two together, the two that are in this one, I'm not thinking, oh, cool, magnesium is going to help me relax, which it will, but that's not what I'm just thinking. I'm actually thinking much more broadly. I'm thinking about how it's giving the body the resources that the body needs for proper communication and regulation. And when I think about it from that perspective, that makes me ask the bigger question. And the bigger question when I'm looking at someone is this a person who's having difficulty shifting out of an activated stress state and back into regulation, rest, and recovery? Because again, I said this before, when we look at how most of us are living, we're surrounded by things that are continually asking our body to stay activated, right? This is things like we're waking up to alarms. We're rushing through mornings. Maybe we're skipping food and we're grabbing coffee to keep us going. We're moving from one demand to the next to the next. We're sitting staring at screens all day long. We're dealing with constant notifications coming in and information that's coming at us at a faster and faster rate. We often end up grabbing something on the run. We're staying under artificial light late into the evening, and we're going to bed with our minds often still processing what happened through the day while worrying about what's happening tomorrow. It's no wonder the body can't rest. It's no wonder that we can't sleep, right? The body is responding to all of that information all the time. And the problem is not that the body is activating us into a stress response. We're supposed to have that response. We're supposed to have a stress response. It's completely normal and it's necessary. That's the response that actually gets us out of bed every morning. But the problem comes in when we're spending so much of our time continually giving the body signals that say, stay activated, stay in stress mode, stay in stress mode, stay activated. And we give it very little opportunity to receive the opposite signal. The signal that says, hey, the demand's passed. You can come back down into your rest and regulation state now. And I know from the people I see in my clinic, that's where a lot of people are stuck today. And it's not because their body has lost the ability to regulate. It's that because after being asked to stay activated over and over and over again, it needs more support. It needs the support and the reminders and more consistent signals that help it transition back. And so that's where this becomes super important. That's how I'm thinking about relax. When I look at this, I'm not trying to shut down the nervous system. I'm not trying to force the body into relaxation. I'm not going to talk about it, take this, it's going to help you sleep, because we don't know if it is or not. What I'm talking about is supporting the physiology that the body already uses to regulate itself. Because when it can do that, it can more easily move out of that constant activation and on mode and back towards the state where rest, recovery, and repair actually happens. And so for me, I'm going to be recommending this during periods of chronic stress or mental fatigue. And also as part of an evening wind down routine, because a lot of people have trouble coming down. I'm going to recommend increasing the use of it during emotional or physical demand. And any time that the bigger goal is helping the body shift back towards regulation, rest, and recovery. The number one place that I start working with every single one of my clients is on their nervous system and reminding the body how to come back into rest and regulation. So this is going to become one of the number one things that I'm looking at. Honestly, this applies, all of what I just talked about applies to us far more than I think we realize, because we've gotten so used to life just being like that. But that's not normal, and that's not what our body needs. So the focus here with relax is regulation. It's not simply about relaxation. And so when I'm talking to people about these three products, I am not going to start with, hey, which product do you want? We got three. What do you want to try? I'm not starting with that. What I'm going to start talking to them about is, how are they feeling? What are they dealing with? I'm going to be assessing. I'm going to be thinking about, what is your body being asked to do right now? And so if you're asking your body to perform better, to be more alert, to be more focused, to be more cognitively engaged, to be able to think clearly, to get out from underneath the fog, I'm thinking about energy. If you're asking your body to respond and remain resilient in the face of increased immune demands, well, I'm thinking about immunity. And if you're asking your body to be able to downshift, to regulate, rest, and recover, I'm thinking about relax. And as you're thinking about this and having conversations now, in every single conversation, as long as you're talking to somebody about them, how you doing? How you feeling? What are you struggling with? And listening, they're going to tell you, and you're going to be able to say, okay, they're struggling with being able to perform. They're struggling with their immune system. They're struggling with being able to regulate and come down and rest. And sometimes as you're thinking through that, the answer is going to involve more than just one of these, because there's no system in our body that operates independently. But even still, I'm not thinking about the product of where I start. I'm thinking about the physiology. And there's one other piece here that's really important to me from a regenerative health perspective, because it's not enough to just identify an ingredient that the body needs. It's not enough to say, oh, you're deficient in magnesium. It's not enough to say you need some stimulation. The body still has to be able to receive and utilize it. And that's why the delivery mechanism matters so much to me. The ease of being able to just throw this in your purse or in your pocket and spray it on the go and not look crazy for pulling out all of these pills and capsules and downing them, right? This is easy. This is like a breath freshener. This fits into normal life a little bit better. I'm interested in giving the body useful resources at the right time in a form that it can actually utilize without continually adding more burden or throwing larger and larger quantities of ingredients at it. I really want to, in my clinic, in my life, I really want to give the body what it needs in the easiest, most effective way for it to receive and utilize the resources at the cellular level. And if you've heard Ryan say this before, we are becoming known, right? Ryan, when you come back on, I'm going to ask you to repeat this because I forget what the three were, but I know we're Amazon is something about delivery, right? We're cellular delivery. This is true. And this enables me to come back to the question that I actually started with. I'm not asking, hey, what product is going to treat your symptom? I'm really asking, what is your body trying to do? And assessing what does it need to support that and what's the most effective way I can support that process. So that's the regenerative lens through which I see all three of these products and the other products as well, but we're just talking about these three tonight. And if you haven't seen it yet, there's a fantastic promotion on. Neumi is offering 2 new mist for $40 through the end of August. So I really think it's fantastic because we've introduced this and now we have the promotion, and it makes it a great time to think about what are you asking your body to do right now? Or your friends and family, what are they asking their body to do right now? What are they struggling the most with? Is it performance? Is it responding and staying resilient? Is it regulating and recovering? And then this allows you to choose the support that makes the most sense. So I hope that's been helpful. That's kind of how I look at it. Is lots of information deeper on the ingredients, what each ingredient does, the benefits of all of that. Neumi has put all of that together in a brilliant way. So I wanted to take a little bit different perspective and share how how I share these and how I will be talking about them.
Thank you, Cindy. That was an incredible presentation. And yeah, I always say, Amazon is known for their package delivery, and DoorDash is now what we think of for food delivery, and Neumi is what we think of for cellular delivery, nutrition delivery. So thank you for that. That was an incredible presentation. I love the simplicity behind it. That's the whole point of these products is to be simple and address needs plainly and in a manner that everyone can understand. And you did just that in this presentation. So I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation. We will be sending something your way as a thank you for preparing this presentation and sharing it with us. And I'm sure this will probably be recorded and shared over the next few months. So thank you, Cindy, for your time.